Hey guys, me and team here. I will be the red Zerg player, and my opponent will be the blue Terran Nublitz. Nublitz is an about 1100 rated diamond player, and I'm not really sure why the matchmaking algorithm put me against somebody like that, because I am, well, right around 1700 in diamond, and that's a pretty big disparity in this game. I mean, I know sometimes players who are lower will be ranked against higher players as they improve, and if they go on a hot streak, they'll continually go up against better players and get more rating until they get to their correct location. But yeah. Anyway, this is one of those matches where I was not an underdog, so I figured I'd cast it because it develops a little bit more differently than a lot of my regular games develop, especially in this matchup. So, felt like I should cast it, have some fun with it. As you can see, it's a longer game. Always good times. And straight off the bat here, the Terran player is doing something that I was doing not too long ago, which is cutting SCVs to produce Marines. And yeah, he was actually random, so this is not his, probably not, isn't his race, or it's an off race, or whatever. But this is the third place I scout, and if you watch my screen here, I do get up there, and I do even manage to click on that third building, which is a barracks. So I'm seeing 3 racks by like 3:20 into the game. I didn't know for a fact that he cut SCVs, but probably. And anytime you see even 2 racks early in the game without attachments, you're already thinking, oh man, he's probably going early Marines, maybe bunker rushing me, who knows. But definitely with 3 racks, I knew I was going to see some early Marine pressure, so I didn't hesitate to drop a Baneling nest there. So actually, I am on the other side of a very early Marine rush, and here comes 4 Marines. This is interesting because some of you guys wanted to see how to stop a Marine rush, and this is my best attempt at doing so. Now, keep in mind, I think this build is pretty much set to counter a blind fast expand by the Zerg player, and the fact that I tend to play one base early in the game and only expand when I feel safe expanding really plays into my favor when somebody goes for really early pressure like this. And this is sort of an all-in even. But yeah, I produced my Baneling and Cocoons in a bad place, and that kind of gets me in trouble, because he's going to start shooting them. Yeah, not the best thing I've ever done. But I get some more Zerglings out, and a Baneling, and that'll blow the Marines to bits. And if he waited any longer, of course I would have had more Banelings. So if he pushed out with like 8 Marines at 420, yeah, I would have already had 3 Banelings waiting for him. So really nothing too difficult there. I was able to repel the rush, and that's pretty much how Zerg can stop it. It's much harder if you fast expand. I suppose if you cut drones for Zerglings, you could still do it, but if they bunker rush in addition to the early pressure, it can be pretty dangerous, and that is one of the ways. And you get those Maka axes or whatever, Maka being one of the top players for Terran, and I think it's Maka Prime actually. He's in that clan, and he'll defeat Zerg with early pressure like that a lot. He usually proxies the Raxes though, and yeah, my opponent here is continuing to train out Marines, now getting tech labs for STEM and probably for Marauders, working up on the SCV count. Let's see how he's doing. Yeah, he is very far behind me, and I tend to undersaturate deliberately, and he's very far behind me. So there you go. That is that's the kind of rush where you really need to do some damage with it. If you don't do damage with it, it puts you far behind. So I'll see how I play this. I probably should have been more aggressive, realizing he was so far behind, but I just wasn't sure. My instincts on this are not 100% perfect, so I decided to play a little safe. Hit tier 2, get an Overseer. I also got my Evo Chamber for melee and armor upgrades on my Lings. Basically, this is a strategy I use against Terran a lot nowadays. It's just to go very heavy on the Zerglings and Banelings to, and yeah, here I see him coming up on me with the Marines, and I have to try and get my Overseer out of there. Get out of there, get out of there. Okay, he gets out of there, just barely. Well over 3/4 of hit points are gone. But yeah, I like going Zergling Baneling with Evo Chamber upgrades. Terran ground really struggles against that. Hellions are pretty good, but they suffer against plus attack Banelings, and everything else is either weak to Zerglings or weak to Banelings on the ground. So I really like that combo in Terran as a default combo, and then I'll adjust afterwards. Anyway, I see this coming, but he snipes an Overlord. I don't like that, so here we have our second battle. Take a look at the units. 17 Marines, 4 Marauders, 32 Lings, 13 Banelings, and I do have rolling Banelings, so not so good for my opponent. Checking out the army strength in terms of investment. Pretty similar in minerals, but I have more in gas just because, well, I have Banelings. So continuing on. He will stim to run from the Banes, and I guess try to kite them. But he's also taking damage from that. And seeing the Banelings, he's running from them. But that's not an ideal situation to be in either, because these are speedlings, and he's having to blow stims to run, and he's still not running effectively. He's getting pretty well hosed by the Lings instead of the Banelings. And the Lings are the cheaper of my units, so although he completely avoided the burning acid death, drinking a glass of my dripping green load from the Banelings, he still lost all of his offensive forces to my army because he couldn't have enough speed to run. So anyway, I get in here with the changeling right here. So now I get to see him putting up a factory. And yeah, as you can see, as much as he was able to kill in Zerglings, he still came out behind on the units lost from that transaction. So Bio Ball, while it's running, is definitely not the best thing in the world against Speedlings. There he finally notices, because that Marine isn't coming with him, that it is a fake and shoots it down. And meanwhile, I'm just sending Zerglings over here periodically to try to check Expos, but they keep getting killed. However, he is letting me hold control of the middle Xel'Naga watchtowers, and I will continue to send Zerglings to the Xel'Naga watchtowers because it really limits his... Yeah, I think this one's going to go there. It really limits his movements through the middle of the map. Yeah, I can see pretty much any ground force that marches over, and yeah, here I have another guy tagging his Expo. So now I'm expanding, and I feel pretty secure in my expansion because I killed his whole army earlier. And if you look at the units tab, I am indeed ahead. Look at the workers. Yeah, he's got 15 SCVs to my 21 drones, so he's still behind. I don't know why he's not spamming more SCVs like crazy. And where's your orbital command? See, this is why I feel like this isn't the... I don't think he's ready for this level of play yet. Is he doesn't even have an orbital command at this stage in the game. And he doesn't have enough guys on his minerals. I mean, even for me, and I do a lot of gas-heavy builds sometimes, so I kind of cut drones for minerals sometimes. Even I have better saturation than him, and I'm getting more now for my Expo. And once again, I'm going to see this coming, and I'm like, wow, small force, but that's because he keeps losing all this stuff. And yeah, and I'm not even going to let this get near my Expo. I don't think he knows I have one. He doesn't have an orbital command for mules or scouting or anything, so... Yeah, and he walks right past the Overseer as well as the Xel'Naga watchtower, so it's like, yeah, let's telegraph punches. Once again, catching him out of position, now with an upgrade advantage on his units, and just blasting him to smithereens again, so... Kind of a bio ball choke there. He manages to rescue a single lonely Marine. Aw, poor guy. Oh, I guess I'd rather be that guy than any of the other guys that are on the ground, that's for sure. And kind of shoddy creep spread, but what can you do? I think he's just going to try to scout me with this. I wasn't sure how much was in here, so I'm running around like crazy with my Zerglings trying to prevent any drop play. But then he just goes away because, one Marine against that many Zerglings, probably not a good call. He probably doesn't want to land that guy. But yeah, this game is starting to run away now. And even while playing it, I knew at this point that this game is starting to run away. And I've killed his forces so many times. Units lost is getting more and more in my favor. But also now I'm holding an expansion, and I know he doesn't have one. So very painful. Now he's going to try a drop on me. I'm kind of curious to see how this does, because I reacted to it a little bit slowly in-game. Well, I'll watch my screen, I guess. Yeah, I was up here managing units, trailing around, yeah, spamming some hotkeys. Nothing too crazy. But, yeah, then I get drones are under attack, and I order my stuff over. I think... Well, now we're not going to see, so we'll switch over to everyone view, back that up a little bit, just to see what kind of damage is done precisely. Come on, come on. Okay, we can speed this up more. Slow back down. Okay, so he's going to sneak over here. Let's see what kind of damage this drop does, because I'm curious. Never liked these Terran drops because I'm a Zerg player, and no Zerg player likes Terran drops. Yeah, really not a lot of damage there. I think he got a drone or something. I don't know. You could probably tell on the units count up there. And now he's going to run off again. I am starting to pump Mutalisks, and that will use up my spare gas that I've been accruing. I should probably build another Evo chamber and get more upgrades on my Zerglings, Banelings. Maybe even work some very gas-heavy infestors into this build when I'm going Zergling, Baneling. Is I always seem to have a surplus of gas when I'm using this army. And those kinds of things, especially the infestors, would be quite nice. I mean, that's something that Fruit Seller did in GSL 1, was using those infestors to hold things so his Banelings could roll into them. And, you know, that seems like hard micro, but it really isn't. And really, micro in general isn't all that hard in this game. I mean, you have some things that are quite difficult, but most general actions, not too bad. Of course, I'm going to say that, and here I'm going to choke away a Mutalisk. But, whatever. And that's not a mistake I would make a lot. It's hard to take a game seriously, though, when you know you're so far ahead. And, man, this guy's got too much gas on his hand as well. Probably because he's not getting enough minerals, because he's not working his orbital command. He still doesn't have an orbital command. This is just painful to watch. Using up energy on SCVs. But just no orbital command and not enough saturation. At least, bare minimum, Nublitz, please. Please, please, please put 2 SCVs per mineral patch. At least do that. It'll help you out so much on getting enough minerals, and that's why you have so much gas. And sending some Zerglings here. I was getting killed by the siege tank, so I sent my Mutas. Check that out. Really, couldn't stick around there, so I'm going to run over here. Just cause some more damage. A lot more damage. Because I have a lot of Mutas. And this time I'm going to get away without any more than maybe a little bit of damage to a Mutalisk. So that's a pretty good harass there. I also get to scout his army somewhat. That's something that Muta's underestimated for doing that. And yeah, now you can see my spending's a lot better. When I add a gas-heavy unit to my build, that's why Mutaling is so popular too, because Lings are not gas cost at all, and Mutas are gas-heavy. It adds more balance to the army, and really every race has that gas and mineral balance that it needs to strike when it's considering composition versus how they're countering the enemy. But Terran really struggles against Ling and Baneling on the ground, and Mutaling in general, so I went for that composition, and I am very far ahead at this point. I mean, seriously, just end this. And I will do so right here, running with the Lings, bring in the Mutas, and yeah, nothing's going home alive this time. And I don't even get a GG. And so that'll be a good game for this match. Need a little bit more work on the macro there for Nublitz, but that's a little bit of an expansion play, even a third base on the way for me. So yeah, that will be a good game. Remember to rate, comment, subscribe, and the me and team signing off.